Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والعاقبة للمتقين، ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأولين والآخرين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين وبعد. Dear brothers and sisters, welcome once again to a new edition of your program Ask Huda. The phone numbers are area code 002-0238-555-248 or 249, and the email address is ask@huda.tv. We'll be more than happy to start receiving your questions soon as you start calling, inshallah. As I promised last time, I will do my best to answer all the pending questions today, inshallah azza jal. The first question is from Hassan from the KSA. Is it okay for a woman to own a hair salon and employ Christians? Okay, this is a complex question. It contains more than one issue. The first issue is owning and running a business that deals with the woman beauties. Beautifying oneself as a woman for her husband is recommended. It's not just mere permissible, is recommended. But if you know that you're going to beautify this woman to display her beauties outside, so she would go out not wearing hijab, showing her hair, or showing her beauty or the makeup, then you are a partner in this sin. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ, and do not assist one another in committing sins and transgression. Similarly, when a man opens a salon for men and he shaves beards, likewise he's committing the sin of shaving the beards, even though he's not shaving his own, but he's assisting others in doing so. Like in the eyebrows, doing anything which will be considered as a sin. But if this salon is clear and free from these prohibitions, then it is permissible. We go to number 2, the second issue in this question, which is employing a non-Muslim in the hair salon for women. The idea of when some of the scholars said that the awrah of a Muslim woman before a non-Muslim woman is different than it from before a Muslim woman, they said because a non-Muslim woman, you cannot trust that what she's going to do, she's going to inform about the details, provide the details of this Muslim woman when she takes off her hijab and she sits before her. And that also applies to a Muslim woman who is not trustworthy. So this is the actual issue. Recently I read the news that in a few stores of Starbucks, famous chain of coffee, in North America, they found hidden cameras in the ladies' bathroom and in many restaurants. So this is the question: when a woman takes off her clothes in order to be beautified or to do this or that, and she is being recorded on a video through a hidden camera, so we will say it's got to be through going to a trustworthy person. So whether she is you're employing a Muslim woman or a non-Muslim woman, the question is whether these guys are trustworthy and chaste or not. If a woman who is supposed to be Muslim, she claims that she's a Muslimah, but she's not trustworthy, then it is not permissible to employ such a woman, because she's going to reveal the hidden secrets of these women before others, and you never know. Now with the cell phone cameras everywhere, and you can use hidden cameras in a little pen, one has to be very careful. So I would prefer, if it is possible, to bring a woman to assist you in this regard, or to give you a haircut or beautification at home, if it is possible. I know that it is very hard and it may cost a lot, but we're talking about chastity, we're talking about prevention better than cure. Every once in a while we read in the news there was a hidden camera somewhere. The cure and the prevention against all of that is to make sure that you put your hijab properly outside home. only in your home or in the homes of those whom you trust, that you may take your hijab off as long as they are not men who are not your mahram. Barakallahu feekum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Abu Fayyad from Qatar.
Yes, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Yeah, how are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah, thank you for asking, Abu Fayyad.
Yeah. Sheikh, I have two questions.
Please.
First question is regarding the Qasr prayers. In a village, some people say if you are crossing the outskirts, the resident of a village, if he crosses the outskirts of the village, which are barely 4 to 5 kilometers, then Qasr prayer has to be starts from there. And the other opinion is it's 80 kilometers and 4 days, other things. Can you just clarify this point?
Okay.
The second question is regarding the divorce. So one of the renowned scholars from India recently, he told in a speech that he was giving the reference of Surah Baqarah, saying that the divorce, the 3 times divorce, what he says is a husband can give divorce to a wife, wait for the iddah period, and the divorce is completed. Then he can marry her again with a new mahar and a new nikah. Like that, he can do it for 3 times. Then only then only he cannot marry her for the 4th time unless she marries to another person and other.
False interpretation. I can't wait to answer the question in the same order it was received, but this is false interpretation of the Quran.
Okay.
And this is a corrupt ta'wil. Do not listen to that. Whoever says that have no idea whatsoever about the Quran. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Number one, because divorce is not 3 times. Al-Quran is very explicit. The meaning is very clear to every person, even if you do not know Arabic. You can read the English. At-talaqu marratan. Divorce is 2 times. That is referring to the reversible, revocable divorce within the iddah time. Then فَإِمْسَاكٌ بِمَعْرُوفٍ أَوْ تَسْرِيحٌ بِإِحْسَانٍ. You either withhold her with kindness, or you let her go and finish this marriage relation with gentleness and kindness. Then فَإِنْ طَلَّقَهَا. If he ever divorces her after he had divorced her twice before, فَلَا تَحِلُّ لَهُ مِنْ بَعْدُ حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. Then it is not permissible for him to remarry her at all. That becomes talaq ba'in, permanent, irreversible, irrevocable. You cannot claim her back to your marriage life even through a new marriage contract. حَتَّى تَنْكِحَ زَوْجًا غَيْرَهُ. Until she marries somebody else, a complete marriage, and they consummate the marriage, not pre-planned in order to make her legitimate or lawful for him. No. The first story is old. And it's history now. We don't even talk about it. And now she marries once again with the intention of marriage and forming a family and establishing a marriage life. If it doesn't work out between the new couple and he divorces her and the iddah is over without calling her back to his marriage life, then it is permissible for the first husband or the ex-husband to offer her marriage proposal, and it is permissible for them to remarry once again, because now there was a relationship in between. Okay? So the 3 divorce, the 3rd is irreversible. The interpretation that person was giving you is entirely corrupt. Okay? Is it permissible to pay zakah and send it overseas in a country other than the country or the city that you live in? In certain circumstances, whenever there is a Muslim country or a Muslim group, they are in desperate need, such as in Somalia now. Definitely, it is permissible to give them not just zakatul mal, but any other sort or form of zakah. Also, there is another case where it is permissible to transfer and send the zakah money overseas. When our local community is self-satisfied and no one to accept the zakah. But there are other communities which are in need. Yes, they are not desperately in need, but none of our community members or no one in this country is poor to accept the zakah. So in this case, we can send it overseas. Muhammad, assalamu alaikum. Muhammad from
Hello.
United
Hello.
Arab Emirates. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah wa shukrillah. Thank you, Muhammad.
Yeah, I'm in UAE actually. The question is, my elder brother, he is in India. He had an eye operation yesterday,
Shafa'ullah wa afiyah.
cataract operation, and he is having another operation for the other eye next week. The question is, his son, who is working for a private company, that company gives the medical cover, insurance cover for his family and his parents. So my brother, can he avail that medical insurance through his son?
Your question is that can he use his son's medical insurance?
His son's company has given a medical insurance cover for him and his parents, which means my brother can avail that.
Okay.
So what I'm asking is, some people are telling that medical insurance is haram.
No. Okay.
So when the company is giving this facility, is it allowed to avail it?
Okay. Thank you, Muhammad. Jazakallah khairan. I'll answer you, inshallah. Sister Saliha from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you, Sheikh?
Great, alhamdulillah. Thank you for asking.
Sheikh, my first question is, after the demise of my grandmother, I saw her like in green fields with colorful flowers. So what does it predict, Sheikh? I saw this dream.
Okay.
Okay, my second thing is, Sheikh, just please do guide us on Vitar Wajib, how to offer, because we Indians completely offer differently.
Okay.
Okay, Sheikh, and the suggestion is that as we'll be traveling to India for our yearly vacation, so we will be missing the episodes of Ask Huda. So please do upload on the website now, so we enrich ourselves as well as people back in India.
Okay.
So that we don't miss anything, and plus the people back in India, even they get to see the whole episode on YouTube or whichever website it is.
Okay.
Like
Jazakumullah khairan.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you,
Sheikh.
Sister Saliha. Okay. Abrar from the KSA had a very interesting question. The question was, Abrar, in the journey of Al-Mi'raj, when the Prophet ﷺ ascended to heaven, as we all know, he was able to take a look and a glimpse over hell, similarly over heaven. And the question is that we know that no one will enter heaven or hell until they die. So how the Prophet ﷺ was able to see people whether in hell or in heaven? This is a very interesting question. Number one, we've got to ask ourselves the question in this order. Does Al-Jannah and An-Nar, do they exist now? Have they been created already? Well, let's see what the Quran, whether the Quran answers this question or not. In Surah Al-Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ أُعِدَّتْ in the passive form, in the past tense. Be quick, all of you together, towards the forgiveness from your Lord, and heaven as wide as the heavens and the earth all together. That heaven, that Jannah, was already prepared. أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. So Al-Jannah and Nar have been already created and been prepared for their dwellers. In the sound hadith, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created Al-Jannah, He sent Jibreel alayhi salam to examine it, to take a look at it, and similarly to An-Nar. And when he returned, he said to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as a commentary on both Al-Jannah and Nar, he said pertaining Al-Jannah, وَعِزَّتِكَ, I swear by your majesty, by your honor, that no one would ever hear of Jannah but would definitely enter it because of what he have seen, what Allah has prepared for the believers in heaven. And he said the opposite pertaining An-Nar. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made some modifications on both Al-Jannah and An-Nar, and then he ordered Jibreel alayhi salam to visit them once again. So when he returned, he said, وَعِزَّتِكَ, with regards to Al-Jannah, he said, I'm afraid that no one will be able to enter it because it was surrounded with hardship and difficulties, with commands and prohibitions, do's and do not do's. While An-nar, he said that, "Oh, Izzatika, I'm afraid that no one will be able to escape from it, because it is surrounded with temptations, with desires, very slippery. The slope is very slippery." So the hadith, the catch in the hadith is that Al-Jannah will not have been already created. What about the dwellers? It is true that when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Najm said, وَلَقَدْ رَآهُ نَزْلَةً أُخْرَى عِنْدَ سِدْرَةِ الْمُنْتَهَى عِنْدَهَا جَنَّةُ الْمَأْوَى, that the Prophet ﷺ got to meet Angel Gabriel, peace be upon him, once again at the Lot tree. There he found Jannatul Ma'wa, heaven, the paradise. And the Nabi ﷺ took a look at Al-Jannah, took a tour in it. And he looked at An-nar and its dwellers. The examples that the Prophet ﷺ have seen, have they been already resurrected and accounted, and there was reckoning and they entered Al-Jannah and An-nar consecutively? No. But in order to solve this misery and this confusion, go back to the verses which talk about the martyrs, الشهداء. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا تَحْسَبَنَّ الَّذِينَ قُتِلُوا فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ أَمْوَاتًا بَلْ أَحْيَاءٌ عِنْدَ رَبِّهِمْ يُرْزَقُونَ. Don't you think that those who died for the sake of Allah, don't you think that they're dead? Nay, rather they are alive with the Lord in heaven, being provided for. The second hadith says, إِنَّ أَرْوَاحَ الشُّهَدَاءِ فِي حَوَاصِلِ طُيُورٍ خُضْرٍ تَسْرَحُ فِي الْجَنَّةِ. Now the hadith will explain how come that الشهداء and the righteous people are already in heaven, and similarly the wicked are already in hell, while their bodies are in their graves, or al-ajdas, as we explain in Surah Al-Ma'arij and otherwise, and in Surah Yasin. We say al-arwah, the souls. Inna arwah al-shuhada, verily the souls of the martyrs are in the stomach of green birds. I guess I can also tackle Sister Salha's question pertaining seeing her grandmother sitting in a green field. This is a great indication and a sign, inshallah, that she is in heaven. But this is the last time I will interpret a dream, because we do not interpret dreams on Ask Huda. So this is a great sign that you can give a glad tiding and the good news to your family members concerning the fate of your grandmother, inshaAllah Azza Jal. Furthermore, in the sound hadith which is collected by Al-Bukhari or Muslim and narrated by Abdullah ibn Umar, may Allah be pleased with him and his father. In that hadith, the Prophet ﷺ said, whenever the servant of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dies, he gets to see his seat whether in heaven or in hell. So it's already prepared for him. What happens when the believers die? And when the disbelievers die as well, their souls will be wandering in their final abode, or in their whether in heaven or in hellfire. So what the Prophet ﷺ have experienced when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allowed to take a look at some of the unseen was seeing the souls of the believers in heaven versus the souls of the disbelievers. But the actual entrance of both will take place on the day of reckoning. When will this happen? Don't you listen to this American scientist who predicted that the day of judgment or the end of life will be on the 26th. It already passed. Nothing had happened. And that was done repeatedly before, and it will not be the last time. So why does the media have to pay attention to every ridiculous statement and every half scholar or scientist, and they will make a big deal out of it? You will see it on the national and the international news. This is all politics, just to keep people busy, to divert their attention from the dilemma of requesting an independent state for the Palestinians in the United Nations. And instead of paying attention to the big news, to what really matters to humanity, what will bring peace and tranquility to the entire world, distract their attention, keep them busy with something, either create a trouble here or there, or make up a terrorist attack. Or somebody will say, you know what, the day of judgment is next week, the end of life is going to be in a few days, do not worry about Palestine, do not worry about peace in the Middle East, do not worry about the Arab Spring, because it's over. In fact, as Muslims, we would like to educate humanity at large that no matter how sophisticated science and knowledge would reach and become, no one whatsoever, neither a human being, nor a jinn, or an angel, nor even a prophet, no one whatsoever other than Allah, the Creator, have the knowledge of the time of the Day of Judgment and the Reckoning Day. يسألك الناس عن الساعة. People keep asking you about the Day of Judgment. When will it take place? When will it happen? قل إنما علمها عند الله. Say, its knowledge is only with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And when Jibreel alayhi salam came to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam and said, tell me about as-sa'ah, about the doomsday, about the hour, when will it take place? He said, ما المسؤول عنها بأعلم من السائل. Subhanallah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took him to the highest stage and level that Jibreel alayhi salam did not even get to see what the Prophet saw in heaven. Did not cross this area that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam crossed in the journey of Al-Mi'raj. Yet the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam answers Jibreel when he came to ask him about the time, the date, when will it take place? He said, ما المسؤول عنها بأعلم من السائل. Neither the questioner nor the questioned one know anything about it. We only know its signs from the Quran and the Sunnah. So any time that we have a science lab or a scientist or a scholar or NASA or whatever, they come up and say that there's only 12 days left for the Day of Judgment or the end of life, we can say with comfort, you guys are liars. What are you hiding behind this news? There must be something political behind it. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sister Anne from Egypt.
Yeah, assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I have a couple of questions, kind of similar. Once the Prophet prayed in the first rak'ah, Surah Al-Baqarah wa Imran wa Nisa, and then in the second rak'ah he prayed Ikhlas. So would the person get the reward of reviving a sunnah if they imitated this? And the second question is an ayah from Al-Imran 32, Qul ati'u Allah wa Rasul. I think you know that. I just want to know, does this ayah obligate the sunnah then? No.
Okay, thank you, Sister Anne. Abdul Rahman from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I have three quick questions. One question is, two questions regarding fertility.
Yes.
The first question is, if Allah had preordained all of mankind to be born, He had already created a set number before the day of resurrection. So if there is a couple who has fertility problems, is it a must that they should seek treatment? Is it necessary that they should seek treatment if Allah has already ordained children to be born from specific people? And for how long should this couple seek treatment? How many years should they go through finding a treatment? And what depths they should go through? Or if they should give up any time? If they had a fertility problem, would that make any difference in seeking treatment? Okay, my third question is different. It's regarding Salat al-Istikhara. Can Salat al-Istikhara be made during a Sunnah prayer or a Nawafil prayer? Or does it have to be a completely separate prayer? That's all.
Thank you, Abdullah. Wa jazakum. Abdul Rahman from the KSA, thank you so much. Very nice questions. Barakallahu feekum. Very interesting question from the KSA. One sister said that her husband has been sick for a while and he's 42 years old. And she said, please advise me as to what Quranic verses or supplications I can recite to help improve his conditions. She also asked about and advised that somebody said you recite certain verse 25 1,000 times, and it would immediately cure the husband. The question was kind of lengthy. I just tried to summarize it. As far as the Quranic verses that may be recited as means of ruqya, any verse from the Quran, any chapter from the Quran, any surah. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu ardah used to give ruqya through reciting Surah Al-Fatiha, the opening of the book. It is not by how much you recite and how eloquent and melodious voice is yours. No. It is by the sincerity of the heart of the reciter. Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu ardah was so good that reciting Surah Al-Fatiha was sufficient. So when you recite Surah Al-Ikhlas and Al-Mu'awwidhat, that is very sufficient. When you recite Ayat Al-Kursi, that's great. Any chapter of the Quran without specifying, that too is great. When you bring a glass of water or a water container, especially if it is Zamzam water, and you recite Al-Fatiha and Al-Mu'awwidhat and Ayat Al-Kursi as much as you want of the Quran, then you ask the patient to drink out of this water. Also maybe make wudu out of it or shower out of it. This is one of the best means of cure by the leave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is an accepted and a valid ruqya. Now when we come to specify that you recite this verse 25,000 times or in a certain number of times, please do not hesitate to ask the person who suggests that to you and say, where can I find that? Who said so? Who said so? I don't want to mention the name of a very popular American speaker. We used to meet a lot, and I heard him saying that if you get to recite Surah Yasin certain number of times, Allah will fulfill your need. I dropped my jaw and I said, what? This man, I know him. How could he ever say so? Then I didn't have to wait for so long. Rather, he said innocently, he said, I know that there is no such hadith nor ayah. It does not even exist in the Sunnah. But my Shaykh told me that he tried it a few times and it did work. This is not deen. This is not the way we present our deen. Because if your Shaykh suggested to you to read it 25,000 times, well, I guess I'm better than him. What about if I make it 30,000 times and 50,000 times? Then you have your deen and I have my deen, and similarly Islam will become like Christianity. Every church have their own deen, and every priest or religious instructor or religious leader can simply invent his own tradition because it's open. The idea of that I have seen in a dream, Allah is telling me so, that's a lie. Because wahi has been seized by the demise of the Prophet ﷺ, and the ayat which talked about the seal of the prophethood indicate that it's over. Anyone would come furthermore to say, Allah told me, he's a liar. I have seen in wahi or in a revelation, that's a lie. When it comes to the deen, it is complete. Please go ahead now and invent a nice watch, clock, a nice automobile, a nice computer, things of technology, nature, of medications, fine. But please leave the deen alone. The deen is complete. If you fail to bring a sound reference to me that if you read this surah or this ayah 25,000 times that my husband will be cured innocently, then you're a liar. Stop talking to me. And please, do not bring people into bid'ah while you think that yourself doing a great thing. اليوم أكملت لكم دينكم وأتممت عليكم نعمتي ورضيت لكم الإسلام دينا. And in the sound hadith, which is narrated by Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, من أحدث في أمرنا هذا ما ليس منه فهو رد. Somebody can object and say, well, but reciting this surah is great. Absolutely. But the amount, the number of times, and when and how, when you add something to it, you are in need for a proof. Like when you say, you do not recite it in the morning, you only have to recite it in the evening. And this dhikr has to be recited approximately around this clock or around this time. then you're adding something extra. We need to know, where did you get this from? Did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reveal to you something that He did not tell Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam about it? This is an indication that you're better than him, better than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Or, perhaps the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam also knew about it, but he did not get to tell us about it. That's a betrayal. Look what you're doing to yourselves. So sister, raise your hands and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to cure your husband, and we too pray for him. Al-marad is ibtila. Sickness is a test and a trial from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is not necessarily always because it is a punishment, rather it is a mean of purification. There are many continuous testimony ahadith indicate that when somebody gets sick, it could be a sign that Allah likes that person. He wants to purify him before his demise. He wants to meet him with no sins, so that when he meet him on the day of judgment, he say, enter al-Jannah. Why? Because he doesn't have sins. They have been all remitted and purified like the leaves and leaflets of trees falling from it on fall season due to being patient for the sickness, for the pain and the suffering. The Prophet ﷺ said, حَتَّى الشَّوْكَ, even the thorn, يُشَاكُهَا, penetrates your skin, pokes you, it hurts you, and you bear that patient, you say, Alhamdulillah. There is pain, but he says, say Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala removes some of your sins and raises you in ranks as a result of this sabr. So endure patiently. وَاتَّبِعُوا وَلَا تَبْتَدِعُوا. Okay, brothers and sisters, let's take a short break, and inshallah we'll meet you back in a couple of minutes, so stay tuned.
Let's talk. So this is something that you have to point out to them in the Bible.
And something which is, I think, very direly needed by the youth, which is staying firm on the truth.
This is just one of the greatest examples for me of how to control your anger.
Within the framework of being the cleanest religion, the cleanest jurisprudence, and in the meantime, the kindest religion to animals.
Watch Let's Talk with Khalil Amanet as he interviews guests and discusses a variety of topics, everything from youth issues to religious issues. Join us here on Huda TV.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala choose whom He wills subhanahu wa ta'ala for His mercy, for His messengership, for the revelation to be revealed. This is not for the human beings to make that decision. If a person would turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sincerely, truthfully, asking for forgiveness, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promised to forgive. We have as Muslims a duty, and that is to recite the book of Allah, to ponder over the verses, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to act according to the Quran. The mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala encompasses everything, but who would this mercy will be for? And the Prophet ﷺ was sent to all mankind. So the ummah, or the people of the Prophet ﷺ, are all mankind since the time of the Prophet ﷺ till the day of judgment. Why waste our life without getting to know every verse in the Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants from us?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Sister Aisha from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum salam, Sister Aisha. Go ahead, please.
Please, I want to know if using braces is halal or haram in Islam. I want to know if it is halal in the case where I had an accident when my teeth fell out and the new one is going. I had an accident, so it grew to be crooked. So I want to know if I can use braces to straighten them.
Yeah, in this case, Sister Aisha, it is lawful. In this case, it is lawful. In this case, yes, it is lawful. When somebody has a problem in their teeth, it is permissible to undergo the treatment, including the braces. Thank you. Barakallahu feek. Sister Anne's questions. The first one was pertaining an ayah of Surah Al Imran. I believe it's ayah number 132. This is a very famous ayah in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَالرَّسُولَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تُرْحَمُونَ. The command of obeying Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was mentioned in the Quran numerous number of times. In the following surah, in Surah An-Nisa, in verse number 59, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ وَاحْذَرُوا فَإِن تَوَلَّيْتُمْ فَاعْلَمُوا أَنَّمَا عَلَى رَسُولِنَا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. In Surah Al-Anfal, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَرَسُولَهُ وَلَا تَنَازَعُوا فَتَفْشَلُوا وَتَذْهَبَ رِيحُكُمْ. So obeying Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam was commanded in the Quran many, many times. What does this mandate? It mandates the following: that whatever the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam commands us with is indeed a command from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You cannot belittle the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's why the scholars are of the view that the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is complementary to the Quran, and it's got the same authority of the Quran. The same authority of the Quran. For instance, there are a lot of things that were not mentioned in the Quran, but it is a fard and a wajib. We just paid sadaqatul fitr, zakatul fitr. We call it zakah. It is a mandatory zakah, even though it was not mentioned anywhere in the Quran. But the Prophet ﷺ ordained it on us. That's why in the hadith Abdullah ibn Abbas and others says, فرض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم صدقة الفطر صاعا من تمر أو صاعا من شعير أو صاعا من زبيب. Look at the first vocabulary, the verb. It's a command. فرض. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم ordained. It's a fard. It is a fard. You cannot reject it. You say it's not in the Quran. So these ayat answer the sect which went astray and deviated away, which is known as Al-Quraniyun. They claim that they only follow the Quran, and they lied. Had they really followed the Quran, they would have accepted the Sunnah too. Because without the Quran, without the Sunnah, they can never understand the Quran. Without the Sunnah, they cannot pray, they cannot fast, they cannot do Hajj, they cannot do any ibadah. The Quran gives a general command, and the Sunnah comes to explain it in details. But as far as your question and your understanding that, don't you think that these ayat, which says obey Allah and obey the Messenger of Allah, indicate that the Sunnah too is a wajib? No, it does not mean that. Why? Aisha al-Mu'mineen, may Allah be pleased with her, said, and the hadith is collected by Imam al-Bukhari in his sound collection, إن كان رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا يدع العمل وهو يحبه خشية أن يفرض على أصحابه. Sometimes the Prophet ﷺ would give up doing some good ibadat that he loved to do, simply so that his companions would not assume that it has become a fard. Because if the Prophet ﷺ was constantly observing single ibadah, that means this ibadah is a fard. You cannot miss it, not even once. And that's why when somebody showed up during the farewell Hajj, and he asked the Prophet ﷺ while he's addressing 120,000 audience, pilgrims with him, Ya Rasulullah, the Prophet ﷺ said in his statement, أيها الناس إن الله فرض عليكم الحج فحجوا. O mankind, Allah ordained Hajj upon you, so you should perform Hajj. He interrupted him once and twice and 3 times. He kept saying, أكل عام أفي كل عام, do we have to perform Hajj every year? Do we have to perform Hajj every year? And the Prophet ﷺ would deliberately ignore his question until finally he had to address it. He said, have I said yes? It would have become mandatory. And if it is mandatory and you fail to do it, then you will be destroyed. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala ordained the fard within our capacity. And the sunnah, it varies from an individual to another. And the best proof and support to that is the hadith of the Bedouin when he came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Ya Rasulullah, tell me, what did Allah ordain on me? Just the fard. The Prophet ﷺ said, as far as the prayer, to pray 5 times a day. Did not mention any nawafil. Then afterward he said, إِلَّا أَن تَطَوَّعَ, unless if you want to offer تطوع, nafl, that is extra. Fasting Ramadan, إِلَّا أَن تَطَوَّعَ. Giving zakah, إِلَّا أَن تَصَدَّقَ, unless if you want to give extra. So the extra is optional. Of course it is great and it is definitely needed for us, but it is not a must. That is the difference between the wajib, the fard, the wajib, and the sunnah in brief. But when somebody asks a question and says, okay, I just want to know whether it's a fard or a sunnah, so I say it's a sunnah, oh okay, then never mind. The way you address it is lacking etiquette, is lacking politeness, because not because it's a sunnah that means it is neglected or should be neglected or it is not valuable. No, indeed not, because you will figure this out on the day of judgment when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala looks into your record of the salah and it's full of shortcomings and deficiencies. Then one can be destroyed because he didn't meet the requirements. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the angels, look in his record, does he have any nawafil? So when they see mountains of nawafil before and after the prayers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will say to his angels, make up the deficiency that took place in the fard from the nafil, and accordingly he will be saved. And by analogy, similarly, every ibadah will be dealt with likewise. I hope this is clear pertaining the fard and the sunnah and the meaning of these ayat. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Afia from the KSA.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
How are you, Sheikh?
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Sister Afia.
Sheikh, I have 3 questions.
Please.
Question number 1. In food production course, they teach wine production, but they teach in a small percentage of a total course. What shall student do? Shall he learn it or miss it, the class? And what about answering the question paper in examination? Shall he attend the practical in lab or not? Question number 2. Some of our celebration in our school where I'm working, there is a girls section where the children are between 7 to 8 years old. They are girls, but they were dressed as a boy, as a male boy. Is it permissible? Question number 3. Who is Imam Ghazali? Is he the follower of Sufism? Or, I don't know. Some people say that he was the right person. I'm confused. And some people say that he was an extremist or he has a Sufism mentality. I just wanted to know about that. Jazakallah khair.
Wa jazakum. Thank you, Sister Afia. Barakallahu fikum. And this coming phone call, inshallah, will be the last. I have to answer, inshallah, hopefully, the pending questions. Saadiya from the KSA. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam, Sheikh. Sheikh, this year, inshallah, we have planned for Hajj. And my husband has already performed Hajj and he works in a bank. So, since we don't have any halal source of income, so we have decided to sell gold. And whatever money we'll get, we'll use that for Hajj. So, can my husband also use the same money?
Does your husband hear, can he hear what you're saying?
Yes.
And you're sitting together and you say that my husband is not earning halal, and you acknowledge that, and your husband is acknowledging that. How do you guys feel about it?
We are not acknowledging it. I mean, he's still searching for a halal job, and since we are not getting it here, so we have planned to shift back here, inshallah.
May Allah enable him to find a job in a lawful field, ameen, and purify your income. You see, it leaves a very bitter taste with every bite, with every sip of drink, with every sleep, with every activity. You know that, I know that this is haram. So it really hurts, not only here. The biggest hurt is in the hereafter. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help you guys to find a lawful job. If your goal that was given to you as a gift from your parents or a source which you know that it is halal, make sure your brothers and sisters, those who are going for Hajj or Umrah, make sure that you make your best effort to only spend in the journey out of lawful income. Because as the muhrim will say, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, once he puts the ihram on and is ready to say the talbiyah, he or she, and say, labbaik Allahumma labbaik, oh Allah, here I'm coming to you to respond to your call. I'm coming to perform Umrah or Hajj. A caller from heaven would answer him. If his halal income was used, if he is using a halal income to perform Hajj or Umrah, we say, labbaik wa sa'daik, زادك حلال وراحلتك حلال وحجك مبرور غير مأزور. That everything is great because your income was lawful and you're performing the Hajj or Umrah, visiting Allah's house from a lawful income. So your Hajj will be accepted and you'll be purified from your sins. And the opposite, وَالْعِيَذُ بِاللَّهِ, will be said to the person who's performing Hajj from a haram income. May Allah help this ummah to get rid of the haram. Wallahi, wallahi. Our enemy is not those human beings or the jinn or shayateen. The enemy is within ourselves. When we get rid of the haram, particularly the earning, there will be abundant barakah that we will not get to know what to do with the money. Barakah is missing. The blessing is missing because we involve the haram in every activity of our life. May Allah purify us from the haram. Is it okay to pay zakat to my children? Muhammad from the KSA. No, it is not. But the wife may pay the zakat to her husband if he is eligible, and he can spend out of this money on his children, because she is not supposed to spend on her household. Nor is it permissible to pay the zakat to your parents or grandparents. وَإِنْ عَلَى وَإِنْ سَفَلْ. And that means that those who are under the responsibility, the financial responsibility of you, that you're supposed to cover their financial needs, you cannot pay them from your zakah. Unless if one of them was in a great debt, in an overwhelming debt, and they cannot settle it. Not because that he borrowed money in order to eat and drink and cover the needs that which you're supposed to cover. No, that he was involved in a project or whatever and he's in debt. So in this case he is eligible because he's under a different category which is known as al-gharimin. You know that somebody's son is got in an accident and he owes money and he broke somebody's car and he cannot come with the money, he will be arrested. He can pay him out of the zakah for this. Okay? And towards the parents too as well. There was a question from the last time pertaining ash-shaytan and whether Iblis has an offspring and have wife and children or not. The Quran answered this in Surah Al-Kahf. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَفَتَتَّخِذُونَهُ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ أَوْلِيَاءَ مِن دُونِي وَهُمْ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ بِئْسَ لِلظَّالِمِينَ بَدَلًا. How can you take a shaitan after all as a friend, as an ally, as an advisor or a supporter, after it has become very clear to you that he is a clear and a plain enemy to you? إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ لَكُمْ عَدُوٌّ فَاتَّخِذُوهُ عَدُوًّا. So the ayah of Surah Al-Kahf says أَفَتَتَّخِذُونَهُ وَذُرِّيَّتَهُ, and his offspring. That includes his children, his allies, his supporters, the rest of the rebellious jinn. But as far as how did the shaitan get married and how do they reproduce, this is something totally unseen to us. We have some akhbar and news from the Israelites, which I abstain from revealing that because it will not help us. We only know that a shaitan does have a spouse and offspring, and his offspring likewise they produce, but how? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. Last question, I know that we passed the due time. Muhammad from United Arab Emirates asked about the health insurance for somebody's father. If it is commercial insurance, the commercial insurance is haram. If it was imposed on you, you can benefit out of it within the amount that you paid. So if you paid over a year a certain amount, you can benefit within this amount of money. But if it is an insurance which is bought through cooperation in a syndicate or a governmental, like Social Security or whatever, then it is 100% legal. The difference is clear. We explained it before in many episodes. the difference between the commercial insurance and the other legal or permissible insurance. Well, brothers and sisters, once again, very fast time passed by, and we ran out of time already for today's episode. And until next time, I leave you in the care of Allah. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Allah is my heart's speech. Your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me